Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video. Today I'm doing a video called my Nintendo in 2018, my wish list. Now before I fully get into the video, I know like if you watch the YouTuber Arlo, and that shout out to this YouTuber because I'm completely ripping off one of his videos, but I was so sort of interested by his take and that, and just generally what he did in that video, that I was like, you know what, I really want to do that as a Nintendo fan, or as a growing Nintendo fan, or a person who's become more and more of a Nintendo fan, and really sort of appreciate them as a company and their gaming platforms, including the Wii U, even though it was statistically speaking a failure. To see that they've taken or done something so tremendously bad in the industry, i.e. the Wii U, and then somehow being able to just turn it around with its successor, i.e. the Switch, is just incredible. Just to witness that as a spectator, never mind actually, as a consumer, sort of see that firsthand and the significant change of the two. So, as I say, this is what I would love to see from Nintendo moving forward. Now, of this recording, I already know there's been a mini direct that showcases upcoming stuff, so sort of February, March, and or May, sort of, everything between now and E3 basically. Is what that mini direct showed. So some of this is probably irrelevant, like the first two bits. I don't think these games are going to come to Switch, unfortunately, because of the fact that they've already announced their two Wii U ports, and last time they only had two Wii U ports, I think in 2017, which was Mario Kart Deluxe and Pokken Tournament. So maybe that's the trend. Maybe they're only limiting it to 2 games per year potentially, so that they don't just oversaturate the consumer base with Wii U games, because although the Wii U didn't sell a lot, there is still that hardcore Nintendo fanbase that probably picked up all these games, and if they're just churning out those, then it becomes quite highly unlikely that these people, the more of these games they're just churning out, the more likely they'll be like, yeah, pass, I don't want to buy that a second time, and that. But yeah, first of all, Wii U ports, I would have preferred over Legend of Zelda, Hyrule Warriors and the Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Personally, I would have much preferred these two, which are obviously Super Smash Bros. Is a no-brainer. Just pack it with stages and characters from the 3DS version, add in all the DLC from the Wii U one on the card, and you're gonna sell an astronomical amount of Switches, even more than they've already sold. It's a system seller, and I think just having Smash Bros. As a Wii U port would be their big game. They wouldn't need a Metroid or a new Pokemon game on the Switch. For me, I don't think that those two would be needed if their heavy hitter was, boom, Smash, sort of December 2018, yeah, we'd have to wait quite a while, but, again, all of the characters in the base game essentially from the Wii U. On top of that, the 3DS stuff and some of the 3DS content, and the fact that basically having both those two versions in one, call it just, I don't know, Smash Bros. U Definitive Edition. Smash Bros. U Definitive Edition, or Smash Bros. 4 Definitive Edition, or something along those lines. The second game that I clearly am wrong in saying that this will come to the Switch, because again, they've already announced 2 games, and this game was on the Wii U, and it was also on the 3DS, but I think it was primarily done on, or successful on the Wii U, but I don't think it got as much, it got a lot of attention, but I don't think a lot of people played it because it was limited by the sales of the Wii U, as all of the Wii U games were exposed to, unfortunately, which is a shame, because Super Mario Maker was a good game. I think having the ability to take off both the Joy-Cons and then have one person play through your level, and then you take literally their feedback they've just given you, and then to be able to like touch on the touchscreen, like, you know, and edit it and change it, that would be fantastic. Doing that in, like, I can imagine doing that in college, or, you know, on a train, or, you know, in a library, or wherever else, you know, and that, you know, and I think it's a superb game, and again, I think it was limited by the Wii U, and I think that's a shame. So Smash and Super Mario Maker are must-have games to bring back. Now, the next heading I've got is just new games in a series, so new games in that series and franchise. First one I've got Animal Crossing. Now, they've just done that Animal Crossing Pocket Camp game thing for mobiles, and it's predominantly a 3DS game and 3DS and DS title. And I think, for me, I've never played an Animal Crossing game. My brother has, and for some weird reason my mum's kind of got into the mobile Animal Crossing game as well now. So, but I think I would actually be willing or pull the trigger on playing an Animal Crossing game for the first time on Switch, because it's something I could easily see not being too dumbed down or downscaled too much when you take it out of the dock and play it in portable mode. And that being said, I think that would be a seamless experience, and I can see it happening. You know, you could easily play that game for, it's like the Pokemon franchise in the sense that you can easily play it for like 5 or 10 minutes whilst waiting to see the doctor or the dentist or whatever, you know. But you could also play it at home, and or, you know, more predominantly for an hour or two, or, do you know what I mean? Like, it has that flexibility in terms of the time you can, you know, devote to it. And I think that's brilliant, because I think those are the sorts of games you need on the Switch, I think. And then underneath Animal Crossing I've got, and as well, statistically speaking, it sells like through the roof apparently. And underneath that I've got F-Zero. I don't think this is likely going to happen. This is just a pipe dream. All of this is just a pipe dream. I would love the F-Zero, a new F-Zero game, or better yet, for someone like myself, maybe just a sort of like a thing that just says, okay, this is brand new F-Zero for the Switch, like F-Zero Switch, or do you know what I mean? Like just F-Zero. Well, not noob edition, but, you know, sort of the new edition more than the noob one, you know, like, just imagine something like what I see loads of Nintendo enthusiasts have on their channels and or clips that I've seen of F-Zero GX on the GameCube. Imagine that, but HD, new, ever so slightly easier to at least be accessible to that massive wide gaming spectrum of people who own Switches, but it's still at its core be very difficult. So it's ever so slightly more accessible, but it's still very much F-Zero. It's got the essence, it's got the style, it's got that fast, you know, intense, gritty, fast-paced racing essentially. So, but it's new for the Switch. Like, imagine the HD rumble of the thing, like of the Joy-Cons sort of going off whilst you sort of trying to manoeuvre tight turns and go around bits and pieces and that, or maybe motion controls where you have to kind of gyroscopes and stuff, potentially, I don't know, but underneath that, the next heading is GameCube remasters. I would love to see Super Mario Sunshine remastered, because I've never played it. I love the look of it. That's another one that I've never played. I love the look of Super Mario Sunshine. I've purchased Mario Odyssey and I love that game. I've got Super Mario 3D World. Not really played that much of that game. I think the thing is with that one, it was primarily focused on local multiplayer, which wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that I don't have a lot of friends who want to play that game with me, or just generally want to play, like Nintendo games. So that one went to the wayside for me, whereas Odyssey is a lot more better a single player experience. If anything, it's the worst out of the two, cooperative, and that one, 3D World, focused solely and too much at its core and its roots of local multiplayer. If anything, Odyssey does the opposite and focuses at its core maybe a bit too much on single player. It's finding that balance, and I don't think either of those have found that balance. But again, in the meantimes, in the midst of waiting for another 3D game or DLC for Mario Odyssey, that's more than that free update thing, just make a remaster and or HD version of Super Mario Sunshine. That would just sell so much, you know, because there are probably a lot of people like myself who started being a Nintendo enthusiast, sort of Nintendo Wii U and Switch, sort of Nintendo Wii onwards, and therefore has never played any of these 3 games that I've mentioned, you know, or if they have, would love to just see them in stunning HD or have more people experience it, you know. So yeah, Super Mario Sunshine. The next one, Chibi Robo, because, you know, loads of people were pissed at that Chibi Robo Ziplash. They randomly had that weird tease thing, image of like Chibi Robo on fire for some weird reason apparently on the internet, which is weird. But Chibi Robo is an underrated, very low-key, very niche, an oddity in the Nintendo pantheon of, you know, characters. And I think a remaster of his game would be brilliant, because it would then allow for them to test the waters, release it physically, see if it sells well. If it sells fairly decently, you know what, make a sequel, or, you know, make a 3DS version that isn't fucking Ziplash, by the way. Granted, I haven't even really played that much of Ziplash. The only reason why I got Chibi Robo Ziplash was for the amiibo. Granted, I didn't have to pay for it. I got it for my birthday, and also the fact that at the time, I think the only way you could get that amiibo was via buying the game, which is pretty cheeky of Nintendo to do that. But the last GameCube game I have here is Mario Kart Double Dash. Now, I have played Mario Kart Double Dash. I've played it, you know, at college. I played it at Button Mash. I've got the game, for Christ's sake, but it doesn't actually work, the disc, which is great. You know, so that game, preferably, you know, because I don't see them making another Mario Kart game anytime soon. So, in the midst and in the waiting for this hypothetical Mario Kart 9 game, which I don't feel like they're able to do that, because much like with the sort of 2D Mario games, now I feel like because of 8 and how refined that is of the formula, I feel like they've sort of almost backed themselves into this creative corner, and it's the same with 2D Mario games, hence the reason why I feel like the next logical thing was to release something like Mario Maker, or to just keep churning out the sort of older games, the older 2D ones on the SNES Classic and NES Classic and the Virtual Console and this and that, and, you know, the arcade version and all their older different variations of the old 2D games of the Mario one. Why? Because they've creatively backed themselves in a corner, and again, I think they've done the same thing with the Mario Kart series, which is a shame. So if they're not making a new one, at least just sort of update and or remaster an older one. And I think that'll hold people's interest for a time, I think. And again, the Joy-Con 2-player thing, one of the best local multiplayer games, hands down, easily, is Mario Kart, and more Mario Kart on Switch is just fantastic. I would have said do that with like 7 or something, but then it just diminishes any sort of urgency to buy a new 2DS XL or a 3DS or any of the 3DS family for that matter, if you can just play Mario Kart 7 on the Switch, because it would, one, look better, and you could play it on the TV as well as on the go, whereas obviously the 3DS only is on the go. So yeah, third party stuff, Tekken 7, please, come on, give me Tekken 7, or 6, either would be fine, you know, if it's too limited to run 7, do 6, or just a Tekken game, because I know Tekken games are on Nintendo platforms. You know, on Wii U we got one of the very few third-party games was Tekken Tag Tournament 2. 3DS, Tekken game on there. Game Boy Advanced, there's a Tekken game on there, for Christ's sake. So those are 3 Tekken games on 2 handhelds and a console. A Nintendo, two Nintendo consoles and 2 Nintendo handhelds and 1 Nintendo console even. So please, Tekken 7, make it happen. Refraction Refraction Gorilla, fucking love that game, brilliant game on the 360. You know, another sort of different sort of FPS and or third person shooter, you know, along the lines of, say, well, not Splatoon, but as in different than just your normal, you know, shoot everything sort of thing. It's just pure destruction, pure fun, basically. Just port that game over. I cannot see that being too difficult to do. I would love that, and I think it would sell a lot on the Switch, personally, because it's a phenomenal game. Last third-party one, Borderlands, make that, and if it sells well, do the sequel, or if not that, if 2K are interested, maybe they could port over 1 and 2, you know, like the Bayonetta thing, or the Outlast thing, or the Resident Evil Revelations sort of dealio, you know. Just make a Borderlands game. It's already on the Vita, so if the Vita can run Borderlands, I don't see why the Switch shouldn't be able to. And I want to say, technology-wise, I want to say the Switch is more powerful than a Vita. I don't know, though, so I could be wrong in saying that. And then lastly, you know, at some point in 2018, talk about the Virtual Console, please. You would literally be printing money at that point. And then just sort of streaming apps, so, you know, Hulu, Netflix, and YouTube. You know, it's just odd in 2018 to not have a sort of gaming device that actually has those, what now come across like essential apps on a gaming device, you know. The Wii U has YouTube and Netflix. I don't see why the Switch doesn't, so sort that out, please, and thank you. You know, because then at that point it becomes even more like, to people buying it, like a tablet but with 2 controllers stuck on the side of it, because you've got more than just games if you're into just sort of your media stuff, like, you know, YouTube and Netflix and this and that, but it's also, oh right, I've watched Daredevil, all of that, what will I do now? Oh wait, I'll play some Mario Odyssey or whatever, or put it in the dock and then play that, and then take it out. Oh, I have to go to this place, oh, I'll watch some YouTube videos on my Switch. It's really convenient, and, you know, and I think, you know, I think that's one thing that I guess smartphones and tablets have over the Switch, the fact that this is just a dedicated gaming device, whereas they're a multi-faceted, you know, device that can, you know, call people, text, you know, and do all that, you know, Facebook, Twitter, and, you know, Netflix, YouTube, and everything, and that, and play games, but it can do so much more, but the Switch is just for playing games primarily at the moment. But yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate, and subscribe.